rewrite the night.
It's there, yeah. It's nasty.
Clash of heads.
Lido! One punch can erase the attitude and rewrite the night, and nowhere is that truth more brutally exposed than inside a cage where confidence walks in loud and leaves in silence. This is not just a collection of knockouts or highlight moments stitched together for shock value. It is a running theme that repeats itself over and over again in combat sports, where swagger meets consequence and pre-fight bravado collides with reality. Every fighter talks. Every fighter believes. But only a few get humbled in ways that echo long after the lights fade. What unfolds here is a sequence of moments where ego takes the first step forward, and karma is waiting with perfect timing. It starts with a fighter so convinced the belt already belongs to her that the opening seconds feel like a formality. Her posture says champion, her energy says dominance, and her opponent is treated like a footnote in a victory speech that has already been rehearsed. Then the bell rings, and the illusion shatters. A sharp right hand lands clean, followed by a snapping left straight that changes everything. 32 seconds is all it takes. The canvas becomes the final destination for all that confidence, and the crowd barely has time to register what happened before it is already over. The attitude disappears faster than the echo of the punch, and the belt fantasy dissolves into shock. That same script plays out again with a different flavor. Another fighter believes her size alone is enough, convinced that sheer mass and intimidation will carry her through. She stalks forward, sure that her opponent will fold under pressure. But patience beats bravado. Distance is measured, timing is set, and when the opening appears, a crisp jab drops her. One more heavy shot follows as gravity finishes the job, and suddenly the fighter who relied on presence instead of precision is flat on her back, staring up at the ceiling while the referee steps in. Physical advantage means nothing when technique and composure take control. Sometimes the disrespect is louder before the fight than during it. Face-offs turn into performances, kisses blown, personal space violated, lines crossed for attention. It looks clever in the moment, like psychological warfare, but it often becomes fuel for the other side. When the fight reaches the later rounds, the taunting stops. Pressure builds. Clean shots land again and again. The fighter who made a spectacle before the bell finds herself unable to settle, unable to breathe, unable to escape. The knockout comes not as a surprise, but as a conclusion to a story that wrote itself the moment respect was thrown away. Underestimating an opponent is another form of arrogance, and it shows up when someone assumes they are fighting a persona instead of a professional. A fighter walks in thinking the other side is more focused on looks than skill, more image than substance. The mockery continues even inside the cage, with gestures meant to humiliate. But skill answers louder than insults. A tight left hook lands. Momentum shifts. Combinations follow. Knees dig into the body, legs begin to fail, and suddenly the one who was laughing is bleeding and scrambling. The finish arrives in the second round, decisive and undeniable, leaving behind a lesson that appearances mean nothing when fists start flying. There are fighters already labeled villains before the first punch is thrown, embracing the role and leaning into it with reckless aggression. They charge forward expecting chaos to overwhelm their opponent. But chaos without control is a gift to someone who knows how to time it. One perfectly placed straight shot down the middle turns forward motion into a collapse. Legs betray the brain. The villain falls, and the fight ends almost as soon as it begins. Swagger evaporates in a blink, replaced by the stunned stillness of defeat. Confidence can also spill into disrespect during face-offs, where fighters push boundaries and test reactions. When the fight itself begins, reality has no patience for theatrics. Clean punches stack up. Cuts open. Blood flows. Damage accumulates until the referee has no choice but to step in. Celebrations feel justified because the direction of the fight was clear long before it was stopped. Talking big does not protect you from damage, and intimidation does not stop punches from landing. There are moments where refusal to show sportsmanship becomes symbolic of what follows. A handshake denied. A stare held too long. Playfulness mistaken for superiority. But flirtation does not block punches, and smiles do not slow pressure. Angles cut, pace increases, and suddenly the fighter who treated the moment like a game is forced into survival mode. Every second becomes work. Every exchange hurts. The playful energy disappears, replaced by desperation. while the opponent stays disciplined and relentless. Trash talk about intelligence and strategy often collapses under real pressure. A fighter boasts about fight IQ, about seeing everything ahead of time, only to get walked into corners and outworked. Clean combinations land while wild swings miss. Technique wins exchanges. Composure wins rounds. By the final bell or sudden finish, the difference between talking about skill and actually possessing it becomes painfully obvious. Some fights barely last long enough to breathe. A shove at the face-off turns into a flurry in the cage. Once punches find their mark, it becomes ugly fast. The referee steps in early, not out of mercy, but because the outcome is already sealed. Seconds are enough when precision meets arrogance head-on. Others come in loud, roaring, demanding attention like volume alone can tip the scales. But grappling does not care about noise. A clean takedown silences everything. Heavy shots from the top rain down. Control replaces chaos. The fighter who demanded the spotlight is pinned under pressure, struggling just to survive as the finish closes in. Even undefeated aggression can be exposed. Some fighters storm forward hunting viral moments, expecting quick finishes. But patience is the antidote. Pressure is absorbed, timing is chosen, and one takedown flips the entire narrative. Ground and pound follows with methodical violence. The hype collapses, swallowed by endurance and discipline. Then there are the loudest of all, the ones who shout before stepping into the cage, carrying bad attitudes like armor. Leg kicks start landing, chopping away at movement and confidence. Control builds round by round. Head kicks land. Body kicks thud. Defense fades. By the time the finish comes, it feels inevitable. Talking did nothing to stop the slow dismantling. Age gaps, size differences, height advantages, none of it guarantees safety. Younger fighters drag older opponents into grappling nightmares. Taller fighters get caught by looping overhands that end everything instantly. Swagger based on physical traits alone becomes meaningless when technique and timing take over. One punch can flatten years of experience or inches of height without warning. By the end of it all, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Confidence is necessary, but arrogance is expensive. Every fighter who walked in believing they were untouchable learned the same lesson. Under bright lights and roaring crowds, the cage does not care who you think you are. It only responds to what you can actually do when the moment arrives. If you enjoyed watching egos get checked and confidence rewritten in real time, let me know which moment hit the hardest for you and which fighter's downfall surprised you the most. Do you think trash talk fuels better performances, or does it always come back around in the worst way? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want more stories where karma lands clean and undeniable, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay locked in for the next one.